Hello, folks. Thank you once again for joining me on this new episode on my Oracle Networking and Security series. So, in this new episode, I will be bringing on board Project 7. I told you at the beginning of this series that I will be embarking on building and demonstrating 10 projects. So, we are on the seventh one, and on this one, I want to do something around identity domains and privileged access. So what am I building today? Let me give you a brief overview. OCI Identity Domains are the new IAM model, replacing IDCS. This project enforces MFA for all console users, configures sessions, duration policies, establishes an access certification process to review privileged group membership quarterly and configure admin users lifecycle controls so dormant accounts are deleted and disabled. So basically what I'm doing here is bringing in identity domain, as a new IAM model, and again enforce MFA, for console users. Then configure session duration policies to make sure that the session doesn't stay on forever, and establish some access certification, for process review so that privileged group or membership are not left, hanging around for too long after maybe they might have been onboarded. Yeah, and configure admin user lifecycle control so dormant account can be dictated and disabled if need be based on your use case. So that is what I want to do. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want us to look at is let's just get around this environment. So let's go to identity and security, and we can get to domains here. So if we take our default domain, then we can see how, I know we've been using this, but you can see under the tab up there, the tabs segment, you see details, user management, administrator, dynamic grouping, groups, directory integration, integrated applications, Oracle Cloud Services, federation, domain policies, security, authentication, uh, yes, branding, settings, schema management, app gateway, reporting, notification, attack. So there are a whole lot of things here, but it's good that I just want us to navigate so that by the time we begin to use some of those capabilities, it will not be new to us. Okay, so let's open with a tab bar across the top, which is what I've just shown you. Let's look at, you will see integration, you will see domain policy, like I said, you see all those also kind of things like that. But the most important thing I want us to look at is to look at uh yes, is to look at review. Let's look at our authentication. So I'm just looking at that. So here you will see security. You can see network security, you can see adaptive security, you can see trusted partner certificate, and you can see account recovery. So I think this is very important. The lower section here, this is where you see account recovery, maximum consecutive unsuccessful recovery attempt, lockout duration, and stuff like that. But that is not where I'm going today based on the project I am embarking on. I think one of the things that is fundamental to this project is authentication. Because the first thing I want to do is to look at how we authenticate. Yes. So let's look at how we authenticate, enforcing MFA for all users. So that is the first thing I want to do here. So when you get here, you will see under authentication, you will see factors. So now uh you see mobile passcode disabled, mobile app authentication disabled, and you will see phone call, everything is disabled. So for instance, if I want to enable them, I can come here and do the enablement. Okay, so we have it back. So when you go to a domains, default domain here, you can see this is my default configuration. Mobile app passcode, when you sign up for Oracle tenancy, you will set up your MFA. This is MFA. So set it up for whether with Google Authenticator or Oracle Authenticator itself. I've done that. So that is why you see that this is enabled here. And you can see if you want to enable, maybe other ones. This is enable here. You can, your email, you want to enable email, you want to use phone, or maybe dual security, or some security questions, or FIDO, a whole lot you can use here. So, but one thing is a maximum number of enrolled factor is 5. So for instance, if you look at my own, I have one, maybe two, three, So maybe I can still enroll one or two with that. But that is what I just want to, demonstrate around the identity domain and MFA security. So you can do that. And you can edit your, when you enable that, you can edit them. For instance, here it's only when I enable this particular uh, app pass that I'm able to say, okay, passcode length is six characters. I mean, yes, 6 characters. So maybe I want to decrease it to 4 or what have you. It's my call. Maybe the algorithm, the hashing algorithm, I want to change it to maybe you know maybe SHA 512 or any other thing. I can do that there. So secret key refresh interval days, 60 days. Generation interval is 30 seconds. Every 30 seconds you generate that if you look at that. So these are the things you can modify here. I'm just so my job here is just take you through this. So can modify it. And trusted devices is enabled. You can see maximum number of trusted devices 5. You can reduce it by making it maybe 1 or 2. It's your call. And the number of days a device can be trusted. 15. Sign-in rules, maximum unsuccessful MFA attempt. So if you try to guess or maybe unsuccessful with your MFA, login for 10 times, then some lock mechanism might kick in. So this is what I want to show us in the new Oracle MFA interface. So I think I've done that there. Yeah. So that is enforcing MFA for users. Enforcing MFA for users. So let's configure session duration now. So what do we do for session duration? Let's look at session duration. Okay. Let's go to settings. So if you are here, I have security authentication here. Let me look for something like settings here. Good. So under settings, you can look at session here. So you can see session settings. This is session limit. This is 480 minutes, and that is like 8 hours. That shows that your session can be here for 8 hours. If you want to reduce that, you can. It's your call, but I think it's reasonable for you for one to do 8 hours. Hence, the working hours for the day is like 8 hours. So that could make a lot of sense that, okay, people sign in at least once in a day. They don't have to the session. It's not as if the session will not prompt you for maybe it's idle time or what have you, but the total session limit is 480, which is 8 hours, I guess. Yeah, 8 hours. So you can see some session settings here, like the signing URL, allow some things, whether custom signing page first. If you want to do custom one, you have to make sure you turn it on here. So these are the things you can do with your session, within this particular space, Yeah. Okay. So now I have shown to us how you can enable multi-factor authentication using the authentication tab. I've shown to us how you can use the settings tab to configure your settings around the uh, session management and idleness. Now I want us to go to what we call sign-on policies. So you can get to domain policy here under the tab line and create sign-on policy. Now let me call this using my conventional naming system to call it this sign-on. This is security admin sign-on policy, and I can make it. Maybe I should use that same name as a description. Okay. Okay, then I will say create sign on policy. So when a policy is created, the next thing you can do is to create rules within that policy. So now, what rules do I want to create? I can say add rule, and I can call the rules, maybe I should just call it rule 1, So I can just call it rule 1. Let me call it sec admin rule 1. Then let's look at the conditions now. So let's look at, do I want to use username, password, or an identity provider that I've created before? I just want to use username and password. I can even use two. So, and I will say, okay, let me look for let me add a group. So what group do I want to add here? I'm talking about security administrators, like I said, maybe break the glass. Okay, those are the two. I want to add that. Okay, you see them, they are added. And then now what do I need to do? I can say allow access or deny access. I can say restrict the following network perimeter, allow anywhere. Now, if I want to exclude anybody, I can exclude them here. These are the users I have, but I'm not ready to exclude anyone. Administrator require the user to be signed to at least one administrator role to meet the criteria of this rule. You can keep or you can enable all these ones, but I'm just showing that this is how the workflow works. You understand my point now? So prompt for re-authentication require user to provide credentials the next time they sign in to the identity domain. So I can enable this, you know. I can prompt for additional factor. Maybe I want them to any factor, you know, or maybe I want a specific one, but I can maybe mobile app, you know, all those kind of things. I can make all these changes here. I can use FIDO. I can say once per session or trusted this every time. These are the cadence I can use here. All right. So mobile app. So any factor. So I can make all these changes here. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a rule that we apply to the users within that group here. So I can say add. That is done. So that is how to create a sign-on policy and sign-on rules. And if you look at it here, it's of priority 1. So it's of priority 1. And if you look at the applications here, there is nothing other application, but I can actually add apps to this. So, but that is not the bane of today's demonstration. So while that is done, I've added that, I've saved that. So this policy means that even if an admin is already authenticated, they must complete MFA using a stronger factor, not email OTP, to start any new console session. Any new console session. So now I want to look at, the next thing I want to do is to set up access certification review for privileged groups, you know. So that's what I want to do next. So now let me go to groups. Let me go back a bit. So that is completed here. I can go back to identity and you look at group here. I should just move back a bit. Domains and still go back to default just so we know. Then I can go to, you see user here and you see groups here. Remember there is user and there is dynamic group. So they have different functions they perform. But here, if we are dealing with users and group, this is where we get to. See group here. Okay. So while that is happening, so we can move on and say OCI does not have a native access certification workflow in the console. So we document a manual process here that you can automate with Oracle Identity Governance or script. So let me do this quarterly action. Let me navigate to security and groups. And let me go to this admin. Okay. Let me go to security admin here. Where is security? Okay, yes. So I'm a security admin, and if you look at users under this, do I have users? Yes, I have 2 users here. I have 2 users. So now, what do I do? What can I do with these 2 users? Can I assign to, if you want to assign a new user, you can do that here. You can just go straight and assign a new user. If you look at what can you do? You can remove from here. You can edit the group, but that I'm just showing us the functionalities you can do here. So what do I want to achieve here when I come to my groups and the point I'm trying to demonstrate here is to make sure that we don't have dormant or unused users around within your groups. Group is like a unit through which you administer multiple users, right? So now, so the idea here is to set up an access review certification of privileged groups. So if you look at what I pick here, security admin groups, how many users do we have here? We have 2. But let's assume I have more. Now I can search here and say, I can search for, let me see, A here, or let me say unused, searches and search, or let me say assign. So one thing I want to get across to you is that don't search your users for access review within the group. Like coming down here to come and search here and say users and begin to set. That is not the right workflow. So I think I've made that mistake like a couple of times. So it's better you stay within, oh man, okay, let me get back to it. So you go to user management, then you stay within here. You see the group is down there, but here you can say you want to like status, maybe that is inactive, you apply. So because I don't have any user that is inactive here, that is why I don't have anything. But if I go here and I say status and I say active, then I can filter those that are what? That are active. And what can I do with this? I can go to actions, I can export these users. Like for instance, let's assume they are inactive ones. I can export this user and say and send it to the maybe the managers and say, okay, are these people still still active? This is more or less like a manual way of doing it. There are toolings that can do this better in such a way that we configure. That's what we call access governance. That we kind of alert the manager to say, okay, is this so user still using this particular access or not? Where the manager can take a responsible action of whether offboarding, disabling, or suspending that account. But it's worth noting here that even for a small, estate, Oracle estate, where maybe you don't have all those enterprise capability, you can still do something here to export whether non-active users. And if there is anyone, maybe you discover that is not active here, you can maybe remove that user. For instance, you can delete, and stuff like that. So this is the right place for you to do that. So the last but not the least is deactivating an account. So for dormant account, you can deactivate, but unfortunately we don't have an account that is dormant here. So that is why we don't have that functionality here. But this is the same place where you can review, and choose the actions you want to do by that. So with that is the end of project 7, and what I've achieved here is to show us how our domain is how our identity domain and access privileges can be managed, in a very secure manner. I showed us how we can, navigate to our MFA session, how we can navigate to, yes, our session management, I do, and the number of hours or minutes that our session can be on. I showed us how we can configure that. And the other thing is that how to enforce, MFA, and how to create policies for sign-on, and add those policies to add users and groups to those policies. And the last but not the least is how we can deal with inactive or dominant or dormant accounts. So that is what I have, demonstrated in this episode. And once again, thank you for joining me. We have three projects to go: 8, 9, and 10. From there, we'll be able to come to the end of this series, at least for a time being. Thank you.